So there was a sweet little monkey that lived in the jungle, and he liked to wander around the jungle and swing among the trees and rest and play and eat lots of fresh fruit. One day he was out wandering and he got close to a village, and there was a house that had a window open, and in the window he saw some bright red apples sitting in a bowl. So he snuck into the window and he grabbed 2 of the apples, 1 in each hand, and he left and he went back to the forest. And he was holding on to these apples, and they were like the coolest, most beautiful apples he had ever seen. And he sniffed them. They didn't smell like anything. And then he took a bite of one, and it hurt his tooth. See, they were wooden apples, but they were beautiful. And so he hung on to them really tightly. And all the other monkeys in the jungle saw these beautiful, ripe red apples that were catching the reflection of the sun, and they all wanted it, so he wanted them even more, and he wasn't going to let go. But he was getting hungry, and he could smell the fruit for fruit trees, but he couldn't put down the apples. He didn't have a hand left to grab a banana. So he kept walking and getting more and more hungry and more miserable. And he didn't want to put down the apples because somebody would surely take them because they were so valuable. But he was miserable and starving, and he finally decided he had to put the apples down so he could eat. And he put the apples down and he grabbed a banana, and he was a happy monkey again because he could eat. See, we do that in our lives. We hang on, we crave these pretty things, and then we hang on for dear life to them because we think they're so valuable, and we think that we can't live without them. And even though there are other things in our lives that are more important, we hang on. We hang on to our pride. We hang on to our possessions and our wealth. We hang on to our prestige and our image, when all the while we could be using that time to develop better friendships and get closer to our family and better connections and community and love and wisdom and all the beautiful things that life has to offer. But we have to let go of the wooden apples. We have to stop clinging to those wooden apples. We crave them. We crave those things that don't last, that aren't real. And what better time to talk about cravings than today, when tomorrow is World Chocolate Day? Right. I never heard of World Chocolate Day. It's been around since 2009. And it's a day to indulge. It's a day without guilt. It's a day to remember the sweetness of life. And so if I don't remember later to say, I have chocolate for you when you leave. There's the ushers, our greeters will have some chocolate for you. But I love what says Spiritual Passages is a resource that I use to get quotes, and it says this about chocolate. The ancient Mayans called cacao, which is the raw bean, the cacao, the food of the gods. Consumed in sacred rituals, cacao is believed to open the heart and connect people with the divine. Chocolate embodies paradox, bitter and sweet, dark and light, grounding and uplifting. In that way, it reflects the spiritual journey, a mingling of joy and struggle, longing and fulfillment. It reminds us that pleasure, when rooted in presence, can be profoundly spiritual. In many traditions, cacao is associated with the heart chakra, sensuality, intuition, and the divine feminine, an invitation to feel deeply and live sweetly. To eat chocolate slowly, intentionally, is to practice the presence and honor pleasure as a spiritual act. Who knew chocolate was the path? Chocolate was the way to spirit. Yeah. So there were some more quotes that I just found amusing on Spiritual Passages. Without pain, how could we know joy? But suffice it to say that the existence of broccoli does not in any way affect the taste of chocolate. Not all who wander are lost. Many of them are just looking for chocolate. Right? And on my deathbed, I don't want to look back at my life and think, I wish I had eaten more chocolate. Chocolate, you know? Many of us have chocolate cravings. In fact, there's a little marsupial who was in the Nebraska Wildlife Rehab Center. I'm going to show a picture of this little guy, an opossum, who was found after eating an entire Costco chocolate cake. Was brought in due to having eaten an entire chocolate cake. He was panting a lot, however mobile and alert. But they had to put him on a chocolate watch. I read this yesterday, seriously, in this rehab center to keep him away from the chocolate. And all these people were commenting about how, yeah, I'd be panting a lot too if I ate a whole Costco chocolate cake. You know how big those things are? But it's fun to talk about our sweet tooth cravings. But we also crave other things in our lives, right? We crave money or wealth or prestige or attention or sex or power or adventure. There's lots of things that we crave in our lives that we feel like we need more of in our lives. And they're not necessarily bad, except when we are obsessed with craving these things to the point of not focusing on what's real, not focusing on what's important, not focusing on what is the good things in life, the good things that help us grow, that help us come into greater understanding, that help us have more compassion. Cravings can distract us from what's important. So we want to be careful with our cravings because they often a craving is something that comes out of a sense of lack. We think we need more of a certain thing. There's a void that we're trying to fill. We can crave things of goodness. We can crave greater understanding. We can crave a more awareness of spirit in our lives. And those things will help us grow those kinds of cravings. But we tend to crave things that are not permanent, things that we consume or get, and then we need more and more and more of it in order to feel fulfilled. In Buddhism, it's the second noble truth. The second noble truth. The first noble truth is that there's suffering in the world. And the second one is that the suffering is caused by craving and then clinging to those, not wanting to let go of those things that we crave. Something to be careful of. In the Gospel according to Mary Magdalene, she talks about the 7 egoic powers, those things in our humanness that we are always finding ourselves putting our attention towards. And one of those egoic powers is called, some translations it's called clinging, and some it's called craving. That we don't want things, we want things to be different than as they really are. And the way to overcome that is when we become aware of it, when we realize that we're trapped by one of these egoic powers, or we're in this second noble truth of craving, of clinging, that we bring love to it. We don't want to get stuck there. In Buddhism, the fourth noble truth is the Eightfold Path. Somebody help me who knows Buddhism. I don't know if I have the term right, but it's about balance. It's about right thinking, right speech, right actions, right understanding, to have balance in our lives so that, yes, it's okay to indulge in some sweetness. And we can't have a whole diet on sweetness. We can't have a whole diet on chocolate. Sorry, but we can't. There's a story in the Hebrew scriptures. I was reading my Jewish Bible, and it's about Jacob and Esau. And some of you may know the story of Jacob and Esau, but they were twins. And they were born to Isaac and Rebekah. Isaac was Abraham and Sarah's first son. And when these twins were born, Esau was born first. And he came out, this stocky little baby boy, covered in red hair and very hairy all over his body, a lot of body hair. Jacob came out holding the heel of his brother. And a much more petite boy, no body hair, no hair on his head, very different. Now, if we look at this story, what kind of meaning can we give this? Esau, being this burly, kind of hairy little baby, represents our animal nature, represents our physical consciousness, represents a consciousness that is really consumed with worldly things. Jacob, holding on to the heel of his brother, means when you got somebody by the heel, it means you've got control over them. Now, Jacob represents the I am, the idea of the I am, of the spiritual nature, of the mind, of knowing that there's more than this worldliness in our humanness, that there's also the divine. And so they're closely connected because they're twins. They're closely connected, but they're very different. And while Rebekah was pregnant with the twins, she had a premonition that the first shall serve the second. She didn't quite know what that meant at the time. But if we look at these two boys, these two babies, one representing the I am of us and one representing more of like our ego, we want the I am, the divine part, to be in charge, to lead the way. But Esau was firstborn. So Esau would get the birthright, and Esau would get the blessing, and Esau would be the one to continue the lineage from Abraham, this lineage of this belief in this religion, this one God that Abraham started. Also, Jacob was very close with his mom, and he liked to be inside, he liked to study, he liked to read. Whereas Esau was the outdoor person, the hunter, the one who went out and looked for game. And so one day Esau was out hunting, and he came back and he was starving, and Jacob had been cooking, and he cooked a stew. And Esau is smelling the stew as he's getting closer and closer to the house. And he says to his brother, serve up a bowl of that stew for me. And Jacob says, what will you trade me for it? What will you give me for that stew? And Esau, he doesn't know. I don't know. What do you want? And Jacob said, I want your birthright. And Esau thought, well, I'm going to die anyway. Why not? You can have it. It doesn't mean anything to me. Years later, they forget about this little deal they made. Isaac is nearly blind. He's on his deathbed. And he says to Esau, bring me my meal, and after I eat, I will give you my blessing. Not knowing this little deal that Jacob and Esau had made. And so Esau goes out to hunt. Rebekah overhears this conversation and says to Jacob, quick, let's make your father's favorite food, and you will take it to him, and you will get the blessing. Jacob says, but he's going to know. When he puts his hands on me, he's going to know. I don't have hair all over my body like Esau does. And so she says, no worries. Well, they probably didn't say no worries back then. Whatever. I'll put some goat skin on your arms. He won't know the difference. He's blind. So they do this. And they trick Isaac into giving the blessing to Jacob, the second born. Meaning Jacob now will be the one responsible for the lineage, for carrying on the family name, for getting all the wealth and the land and the livestock and the everything. So Esau comes back and finds out that his father has given his blessing away. And he's angry. He says, I'm going to kill him. So Jacob has to leave. And he leaves. And there's a whole lot more to this story, but we're going to stop there. Because we're looking at this, what does this mean in our lives? That there's a natural unfoldment, that spirit needs to be in charge. That we need to let spirit be in charge in our lives. Don't look at the literal deception part of this. Spirit needs to be in charge of the ego, not the other way around. We want to carry that forth. We want to walk forth that part of ourselves. There's a quote by Emily Cady, who wrote Lessons in Truth. All love is God in manifestation. All wisdom is God. All life and health are God. All joy and all power are God. When we crave more of any good thing, we are in reality craving more of God. See, we're craving that goodness. We're craving, as Jacob was craving this goodness to carry forth. Esau was just craving food. He just wanted a bowl of stew. We want to crave, not that there's more God, that we have more awareness of it. More awareness of the goodness that's all around us. More awareness of spirit is with us always in the midst of everything. So we want to be careful with what we crave and what we cling to and what we hang on to. That it's not so much something to satisfy a void, but that it's a longing to give. When I was in the field program to get ordained, there was a minister that said, just kind of off the cuff, but I think a lot of people that want to become ministers just want a job. I don't know that they're really called to ministry because they're not lasting very long. And once they get in and figure out what it's like. And I remember thinking that because I was in the program to get ordained. And I really had to take that in. Am I just wanting a job in ministry? Or am I wanting to serve? Am I wanting to give back? And it takes some discernment to know, is this a calling? Is this a longing? Is it a craving and a clinging because I want to see myself that way? You know, we all can do that in our lives. Look at the things that we long for. Look at the things that we crave and we cling to and we can't let go of. And with a lot of discernment, I decided, and it became very clear to me that I didn't really even want a job. I mean, ask my husband, I didn't want a job. But I wanted to give back. And I wanted to serve. And I wanted to bless. From all the blessings I had received, I wanted to share them and everything that I've learned and everything that I'm learning because I'm continuous student here. We have to get ourself out of the way sometimes when we need to discern, is this a longing of mine? Is this something that I'm called to, or is it something that I just need a permanent, a quick fix? A quick fix. I'm taking a class right now by a Center for Spiritual Living minister. It's a remote class. It's called Quantum Vitality. And he talks about how We need to get our bloated nothingness out of the way. The bloated nothingness, our ego. We need our egos, but they get in the way a lot. And they get in the way when we're really need to be in a discernment process to decide or discern for ourselves, what is it? What is it that we are here to do? What is it that we are here to become? What are we here for? Who are we? The song, the John Denver song is beautiful. We're looking to find our way. We're looking to find out what is us? Who are we? So I found this cute little dialogue, and during first service, Brooke helped me out, and she got to be God, but I want to be God this time, so I'm going to be God. You need the microphone. You need the microphone.
Oh.
Yeah. This is a little dialogue that I found on sunnyskies.com, and it's just a good illustration of what we need to become. Whatever. Is that what I call it? I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm God. No, I'm God.
Hello, God.
Hello.
I'm falling apart. Can you put me back together?
I'd rather not.
Why?
Because you're not a puzzle.
What about all the pieces of my life that fall to the ground?
Just leave them there for a while. They fell for a reason. Let them be there for a while and then decide if you need to take any of those pieces back.
You don't understand. I'm breaking.
No, you don't understand. You're transcending, evolving. What you feel are growing pains. You're getting rid of the things and people in your life that are holding you back. The pieces are not falling down. The pieces are being put in place. Relax. Take a deep breath. And let those things you no longer need fall down. Stop clinging to pieces that are no longer for you. Let them fall. Let them go.
Once I start doing that, what will I have left?
Only the best pieces of yourself.
I'm afraid to change.
I keep telling you, you are not changing. You are becoming.
Becoming? Who?
Becoming who I created you to be. A person of light, love, charity, hope, courage, joy, mercy, grace, and compassion. I made you for so much more than those shallow pieces you decided to adorn yourself with and that you cling to with so much greed and fear. Let those things fall off of you. I love you. Don't change. Become. Don't change, become. Become who I want you to be, who I created. I'm going to keep telling you this until you remember.
There goes another piece.
Yes. Let it be like this.
So I'm not broken?
No, but you're breaking the darkness like dawn. It's a new day. Become who you really are. Okay. So we're invited every moment, every day to become who we're meant to be. And we need to let go of the wooden apples that aren't serving us and just become. And let those pieces fall away that are no longer serving you. And look out for those cravings that help you fill a void, that there's nothing that's missing from you. You are whole and complete and beautiful just as you are. So know that. Know that. You're everything you need to be in this moment, in this life. Just live it. Let go of the wooden apples and become. Namaste.